Hey, welcome to the Creative Marketing Cut, where we slice through the boring to bring out the brilliant. I'm your host, Evan Renfro, here to navigate you through the maze of marketing, creativity, and strategy. Our goal is to pack every episode with invaluable insights and practical takeaways for those of you who are ready to apply these tips. We'll skip past the industry stale dry jargon and uncover the crafty and creative side of marketing. And no, this isn't just a marketing podcast for those that are obsessed with marketing. This is for those of you who want a few tips on how to use it. All right. Hey, Daniel, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me and share your wealth of experience and passion and really utility and value into marketing. To get started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, currently I am the founder of the Marketing Millennials, which is, I like to say, a a media company that's supposed to serve the top of the T of the T-shaped marketers. So all about marketing. So anybody can come and learn something about marketing. And we have a newsletter, podcast, socials, events, all that good stuff. And I also run a agency called Authority, which helps people who want to market to marketers on LinkedIn. So it's a social growth agency.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've seen your stuff for a while. Marketing Millennials struck a chord with me. I like the humor. I like the realness of it, if that's a way to describe it. What was the catalyst to getting started there? I know a lot of times like we can be very rigid in our marketing. It can feel very stiff, and I feel like you guys take the very much the opposite approach. So yeah, how did that begin?
The Marketing Millennials was born out of not the most interesting story, which is good because I think it helped me learn along the way. Um, I started testing LinkedIn probably 2019. I wanted to see how the platform's going. And then I ran out of content ideas. So I started a podcast called The Marketing Millennials to get more content out there and talk to the coolest marketers, pick their brains so I can have content ideas and also produce more content on social. When I decided, oh, I need another distribution channel. So I started a LinkedIn page, and the LinkedIn page became something that I thought it was going to be 10,000 followers in a year, and it became 250,000 followers in a year through just posting funny, random, quick tips that nobody was really doing on the platform at that time. And 2 years into it, I started a newsletter because I wanted to take this amazing audience and then give them more in-depth stuff that I know. So some people were listening to the podcast, some people on LinkedIn, but some people wanted written form. So I decided to have a different form of content. And yeah, it just spiraled from there. Once I had a newsletter, then it gave me another distribution channel to start doing events, start doing all good stuff. So everything, if I wish at the start I thought of it as a media company, but I think that's marketing is learning by just trying things. And I think you that's what the best marketers I know do is just trying things. I think the best marketers also have intention about behind things. So I think if I had intention behind it, it would be good. I just think I got on the platform at the right time, got lucky, and then started doing something different. And that's how I stood out.
I love that. I think it's always fascinating to me, like the type of content that I most enjoy and gravitate toward, and you kind of hear the stories of just like the infant stages of it, or the ideation phase of it, of how it began, really. And so often it's like, oh yeah, we wanted to do this for fun, or we wanted to do this for ourselves, or we just kind of wanted a new outlet of something that wasn't so um, stiff and forced, and we wanted to create something where we found enjoyment in, and the community felt natural. Like those are almost common threads with again the things that I'm drawn to, and I don't know if it's maybe consistent like in a more broad approach, but I guess the point with that is like it feels like even if we don't have like every bit of like information or all of the answers, kind of just getting started and letting the audience give feedback and seeing what sticks and seeing what gains traction. It seems to be like a common story, and I've really that provides a bit of assurance and encouragement for me, because I feel like most days I'm just figuring it out, right? I've learned some tools and some skills, and I think if most people are being honest, they're probably in a similar boat. And it really demystifies the whole process, right? It makes it if it's even just outside of reach, it still feels fairly achievable if a couple of things happen. So kind of with that, like looking at it today, right? You guys have amassed a pretty significant audience, and you're getting, pretty great traction on the things you create. If you could speak to the size of what it is now, then I want to kind of like trace back, um, almost like the things that have popped up that were like the indicators that it would be successful.
Yeah. So we have just over 100,000 newsletter subscribers. We have over 1 million followers across socials. So LinkedIn almost 900,000, Instagram about 120,000. Um, we we're also starting on YouTube and stuff like that. But and then the podcast is consistently top 20 in the US for marketing podcasts. So it's a broad, having little things just add up. And I think all those little channels added a little bit to each other, but it's crazy to go to the best way I know it's working is going to in-person stuff and hearing, oh, I follow your Instagram, or I follow your podcast, or I follow your newsletter, because it reassures me that you have to be in a lot of channels if you want to reach more people. You can't just be a podcaster or newsletter or a Instagram thing. But I do solely believe that you have to start by focusing on one of those channels first and then expand out.
That's good. I like that. I've heard from different people that have, they've amassed, let's say, a pretty large, respectable audience in maybe a short time frame, and most of them that I've at least heard kind of speak to the same testament, right? It's like pick the one, master it, or at least become pretty proficient in that one, and then start to expand. Because I think that's when you find, maybe we'll call it like your voice or your style, your flavor, so to speak, right? Where it's kind of like the way that you speak, the way that you frame up messaging. And I know you guys use a lot of humor and wit, and my preferred method of communication, and my kids love this. Not really, it's sarcasm and dry humor. So again, like the content y'all put out and create, I feel has like a direct line to the things that I resonate with well. What would you say maybe was like, what were the biggest key takeaways for you guys finding that early on and recognizing the traction there, and then just doubling down on that type of messaging and that type of communication?
First, we realized that just there wasn't everything was just dry on LinkedIn, and there was not a bunch of humor. Everybody was just giving straight tips. They were good tips, but they were just giving straight tips with not much personality into it. And we wanted to be a break in the LinkedIn feed, not we wanted to give some entertainment in the LinkedIn feed, not only that. And I think a lot of people they need, sometimes it's just a break from their reality of like what they're doing, and need someone to reassure them that the way that they're feeling is the way that we're all feeling. So I think that was one thing. And then when we got into the newsletter, at first we when we started the podcast, we said we wanted it to be this fun, easygoing, no BS type podcast. And then we went to the newsletter, and we set up like what our voice is as the marketing millennials. And it's like we have what we are and what we're not. Like, we're fun, we're hype people, we are not dry, we're different, like all these like words that describe what we are. And that every send, if it doesn't have that in it, does not go out. So we make sure that the tone of voice is always what we want it to be, because I think a lot of the reason is like you said, content is fluffy and boring, and we wanted to make it a fun read while learning marketing. We don't want it to be just like 90% of marketing out there where it's good content, just hard to read. So we just wanted to make it easy to read, simple, to the point, with some personality behind it.
I love that. I think so. I share in that approach, right? So I kind of operate in two buckets, like the agency side of what I do, right? Serving clients primarily through video. I would say like that, what you just described is exactly the lane that I try to operate within. I think we have grown like callous to just dry, very traditional, direct sales oriented messaging. Buy this thing right now, by this time. We've kind of, I think at least, we've become a little bit just resistant to that, and we feel like we're always being sold something. So I believe that the vehicle to kind of earn someone's attention is either through relatability, entertainment, maybe a combination of the two, some element of story or engaging content that really builds that bridge of communication, right? Something that we create on the content side, and then something that they enjoy from an audience side, and then within that, embedding the messaging, providing the value, giving the things that they want, hide the medicine in the sauce kind of a thing, right? Um, and I say all that because I see that in the way that y'all create content. You just mentioned it, like it was LinkedIn was by and large this just dull, not very lively platform with the majority of the content coming from a place of just very direct to the point. And people obviously wanted more, right? That's why you guys have grown so much, and you've amassed such a large audience. All that to say, like, what are some things that you appreciate and you enjoy in other content? Like, who are some people that you're following? What are some things that you see? And maybe within that, like, why do they appeal to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's funny because I think the way to get better at marketing is getting inspiration from outside of marketing. I think there are great marketing content creators out there. Like, oh, I used to listen to Dave Gearhart. I still listen to Dave Gearhart. His content is great. Ross Simmons' content is great. Caitlin Burgoyne's content is great. Those people, those type of people, Amelia Sordell's content is great. All those people know how to engage audience. They give distinct tips. They have personality behind it. They know how to be simple with their content. But I also think there's stuff like seeing what other media companies are doing and other channels are doing. Like, I try to consume a lot of other content. Like, what are the best TikTokers doing out there? What is like Barstool doing out there? What are what are these podcasters doing out there? And I I don't like follow one or the other. I think there are some that I think are great, but I just try to consume a bunch of different to just get ideas to take that idea and bring it to marketing, or take this idea and bring it up to marketing. So I think it's going outside the scope of marketing and finding inspiration that what other great content creators are doing, and then trying to bring it to your industry. I think that is the best way to do it. Like, I listen to like the BFFs podcast because with Dave, Josh Richards, Brianna Chicken Fried, just because it's like a cool conversation podcast. I listen to the All In podcast to hear like how they banter about things. Um and then I will go listen to some marketing podcasts like Dave's, or um, just hear what they're doing, or Jay Schwedelson's content, because he knows how to bring humor, and that is the way to do it. And having inspiration from other industries is the way to get ideas going in your head.
Yeah, that's great. I see it as like a curation, right? Like we take in certain things, and then kind of like in our own way of meshing them together, like what we put out is some way curated from what we've taken in. But what's so cool about it again is like seeing it done well, like you guys do. It's like knowing how to frame it up and how to assemble it so that it meets the audience that it's for, right? Like you guys know who you're speaking to, you know what they enjoy, you know the things that resonate with them, so you can take input from other industries and from different tones of voice and formats, but you know how to take the best pieces of that apply to the audience you're serving. I mean, I enjoy it. Again, I'm super passionate about this industry, but yeah, watching it be done well, it's like an art, and it's certainly something that I enjoy.
And I think you said it right there. I think one thing that we do a lot is go deep into understanding what content is hitting with our audience, what content, reading the comments, understanding why it's working, why it's not working, what people want, asking people what they want. It's a continuous process. I think a lot of people online are writing one way journals about what they care about, and we're trying to write content that people actually want. And that's what we do. We also, I think another thing that people should do when they're writing content is have point of views from different people. So like my wife Ari Murray brings in her sass and her opinions into it. We have a Gen Z person on our team, Aiden, who's a great content creator who brings in his opinion. I have my opinion, and then we cultivate all opinions from other people to make the content better and the audience. So I think it's coming from having diverse opinions in the room, and then also like getting diverse opinions from the audience makes great content.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it, right. And um, I mean, from the perspective of where I am, right, I kind of look ahead a bit and I see who's doing the things that I want to continue to do at a higher level. I see who's doing it well, and I kind of liken it to like what you just laid out. It's like if you turn on ESPN, right, you're gonna get different personalities. You're gonna get the Stephen A. You're gonna get like just everybody kind of has their own perspective of still bringing you like the same context of sports, but they've all got different themes and styles and formats of their shows and of their like community. Even Sports Center is going to feel different than like NFL Live. Like they're all going to have a different kind of theme to it. But I like that you've got different, almost different representation of opinion around the same topic, so it doesn't just feel like this constant echo chamber of the same thing regurgitated over and over. Which again, like looking ahead of people that are doing it well that I aspire to reach, it's like you can really like you can still nail that central focus of this is who we are, this is what we're about, but broaden it so that it kind of reaches a few people in varying aspects of that. So yeah, kudos to you guys. And again, it shows, it's demonstrated in what you put out. I'm curious, like with that framing, what would you say, like kind of moving forward and kind of as you guys continue to build out more content and I'm assuming if the team is growing, like what are some things that have been like an advantage to you guys? Are you using any new tech? Are you using any new skills? Or are you seeing anything that's helped you guys from a scalable perspective to kind of take that process, take those different represented voices and kind of make it larger reach?
Yeah, I think the reach comes from adding new ways of distribution. Obviously, with AI now, you can chop up videos faster. You could get ideation faster as well. So I'm not going to give that answer that like everybody will give with that, but
Yeah.
I think it's figuring out and being on top of the channels of distribution that your audience is hanging out on, and then also figuring out different ways to connect with your audience, whether it's a virtual event, an in-person event, a community, um, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. I think once you've nailed down one channel, it's easier to get to another channel and take the best learnings from that channel and apply it to the next channel, then apply it to the next channel, and then apply it to the next channel. So, and all those channels also learn from each other. So I think for us to scale is just adding more and more distribution into the world and being into more and more places. I also think it's also not staying stale with your content and be willing to try different things, learn different things, add new things into the content. So I think it's a mixture of like adding new distribution channels, but also just willingness to say, hey, let's just try this. If it fails, we'll go on to the next thing. Oh, this didn't work. This worked. Oh, this in-person event hit. We should do another one. It's also learning. Also, I think when you start thinking of content like a product, how we do it, you start thinking of like how could we innovate on this product, how could we get better distribution on this product, how could we um, get more revenue streams for this product, how could we serve our audience better with this product, um, how could this product be even better for the audience. You start thinking about it like that, and then your content's better. I think a lot of companies and people think of their content as just a nice to have in part of their business, when it should be like the center of their business, and it shouldn't be attached to all the marketing goals that they have, because then they're just going to do bad behaviors that are going to have negative signal in the market for your content.
Yeah, I like that you brought up that aspect of, I mean, really, I would assume it kind of comes down to like a lot of companies are looking internally at the ROI of that content or that marketing effort, right? And I like how you mentioned too, it's like when you try to put maybe an added level of urgency or expectation on something, you don't give it time to kind of be refined and iterated to find its, footing. What are some ways that you guys, because again, I've echoed this a number of times already, but y'all are doing really well and you're making content that I feel is right on brand. What are y'all doing to either validate or to kind of keep a pulse on what's working, and how do you deem it effective?
Yeah, a couple of ways. Obviously, like the methods of seeing on Instagram, seeing how many posts are shared, how many posts are engaged with, how many posts are commented on it. On LinkedIn, how many, like the same, the shares, the engagement, those things, those are the market giving you signals. On newsletters, you can look at replies, you can look at clicks, you can look at um, opens, on on so looking at the different metrics, because really I think social gives you the quickest answer on if things are working. If things aren't getting likes or comments, even if it's a small amount, you know that it's not hitting with the algorithm, because the algorithms really wants to serve more content to keep people on the platform. So if your content's not getting served to people, it means that it's not getting enough traction in that on the platform for more and more people to actually care and keep people on the platform. It's getting scrolled past and stuff like that. So just willing to see like what is working on that, and then taking, let's say an Instagram post works. Oh, that's a cool Instagram post. Maybe we can make that into a newsletter because so many people care about that topic so much. Oh, maybe we need to find someone who's a good guest or a podcast to do something. It's amplifying the distribution of that message because it's resonated on one platform. Usually, when it resonates on one platform, it's going to resonate in another platform. You just have to format it well for
Yeah,
that platform for it to work.
that's good. Do you? So I've heard, if you're a fan of Alex Hormozy, I've heard him reference his workflow or process a little bit, where he'll make a, maybe he'll share a thought in the form of a tweet, right? With super low barrier, and that's how he tests his ideas, right? And whenever it gets a lot of traction, maybe they revisit that topic and they make a short form video about it. But if it gets like an abnormal amount of traction, they make a longer form video about it. But kind of that workflow and that process of like test and iterate, but like as things kind of prove to have developed an interest, that's, to me, it's like an ear to the floor, right? It's not making assumptions, it's seeing firsthand there's there's evidence that it struck a chord. So it's like, oh, people must want this. Let's make more of that. Is that kind of similar to what y'all will do?
Yeah, I like to say, and I think I mentioned this before the podcast, but I think that everybody has different intentions on the platform. For us, it's to get a lot of attention on social, to see what's working, what's not working. Call it like Costco sampler. Like It's basically like tastes and see if someone likes that piece of content. And then if they like it, then we bring it into our longer form pieces of content. Our goal of social is to take people, get much attention, to bring them to our newsletter, podcast, all that stuff, where we're actually putting out like longer form consumable content. Um, we're not trying to put that long form content out on social. We're trying to bring people into our world and let them consume it there. So that's why I'm saying that's like people have different goals, and mine is to get attention. Some people's are to like they want to be the best thought leader on LinkedIn. Maybe you should go longer form videos and long, but for us is to get enough attention to be top of mind all the time so people could come find us on different platforms where we're producing longer form, in depth, cool, fun content and come into our world.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's there's different terminologies for it, I'm sure, but yeah, to me it's like that's the earned audience, right? That's the you've provided some level of value or something of interest, and then they come looking for more. I'm a I would say I'm a bit biased to that approach as well. It's like I know there's different methods, and like you said, everybody has different intentions and goals. But to me, I've always just been drawn to like if I can create something that people enjoy, I'm not going to have to continue to chase them around and beg them for attention. They're going to keep coming back to the thing that they enjoy consuming. They enjoy watching the video. They enjoy reading the copy, whatever it may be. And I think to that, it's like what would you say are the requirements for kind of having content be just like relevant or resonate with its intended audience?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is expertise. I think you have to know what you're talking about. I think that, especially in B2B content, is expertise. Um, and I think then you the second part is listening to the audience and seeing what they actually want to hear. And being in communities and talking to a lot of marketers and um, understanding those things. And then also then the third thing is testing it in the market and seeing what's resonating and what's not. I think those parts. And then I think having your own unique style, your own unique personality, your own unique stuff, like really, I always say you have to add value on the platform, but add value means add something to someone's day. It doesn't mean that it has to be always educational, always this. It means that adding to someone's day means that did it make someone smile? Did it make someone learn something? Did it inspire someone? Did it make someone think differently about a topic? Did it make someone um, feel seen? Like have emotion of that, and if you can get your content to do that on a platform, you're winning. And I think the number one goal of marketing is to get attention. I don't care what anybody says it isn't. Like the number one goal of marketing is attention. If someone you can't stop someone, you're not never gonna be successful in marketing. So figuring out how to get content to stop someone in their tracks. And it's getting harder and harder because more and more people are producing content, great content out there. So the barrier, I always say that attention to detail, people always say that people have a lack of attention spans right now, but I honestly think people have just a better way of filtering out BS. Like their mind is better at filtering out BS. So your you're the standard of what they want is higher and higher and higher, and it has to fill those needs of those emotions I was talking about before. So they're not going to just stop for what they've seen a million times. They're going to stop for what they that gets their attention.
That's so good. I love. I agree. Right. Like I think the BS meter is improved. We're inundated with content. Right. We're overstimulated. there's no shortage of content, right? Like you run into it by accident, right? It's everywhere. So I think like exactly to your point, like being able to provide value and not just some like so narrow focused that it's just informative or educational, but value, like you said, of like bringing joy or entertainment or just something that someone has a sense of gratitude and appreciation toward. I'm very curious because there's a lot of um, there's so much nuance with this, right? Like depending on the industry you're in, the audience you're trying to reach, the modality, right? If you're primarily written text, photo, video, whatever. There's so much, yeah. There's so many variables. Um, I would love, and this is a selfish ask. Truthfully, this is for me. I'm sure other people get benefit from it as well. But as you've gone, I'm looking here at the different companies that you've worked for and done marketing for, and different industries and demographics and audiences represented. If you had to pick a few things that maybe would be like the secret weapon to quickly identifying the type of content that's going to resonate with that audience. So it's like, how do you learn their interests? How do you learn what resonates with them? How do you learn what they'll be attracted to in forms of content? Yeah, what would that list of those secret weapons be?
I wish it was like this like huge secret thing that people don't know, but I think it's just things that people just don't take the time, and unscalable things that people should be doing. And I think one is actually going to talk to the people and seeing like where they spend their time, where they hang out, where they're consuming content right now. So that's one. I think two is going to hang out in the communities that they hang out with, is so you can understand how they're talking, what they're talking about, what questions are they asking, all that good stuff. And I think a lot of platforms you could do, the beauty of like social media and even like paid social is you could do micro tests at a very low cost and see what works on those platforms. I think the number one thing you need to start with is like what are what's my message I want to get out in the market? Who do I want to be? Understand who I am, or what the content is supposed to be, and understand that first. Obviously, you're not going to nail that down perfectly, but if you have some sort of idea of who you are, your tone, your values, what you care about, the hills you would die on, you could start like testing all these messages. And then once the messages resonate, then you can start doing that. But that comes from, oh, I talked to this person, I talked to this person. A lot of mine pieces of content come from, I saw a comment that someone asked this question. This is going to be a new piece of content. Or I talked to this marker on a podcast and I got inspired to write this piece of content. Or these in the community, I see this coming up in this community. I see this topic coming up multiple times. Like we should write something about that. It's just, I always say that to be a great content creator, you have to be a heavy consumer of content. And that's where people are like, a lot of people don't consume a lot in that industry to understand the content that they want. So if you're trying to be the best marketing creator, just give that an example right now. It's all about consuming a lot of marketing content and understanding marketing content, but also consuming a lot of content in general. I talked about this earlier, and seeing, and then taking, because a new idea, an original idea, original in brackets, is taking two obsolete ideas and just finding a connection. And but without consuming, you don't have those two obsoletes or those dots to connect. So if you don't have those dots to connect, you're never going to come up with a lot of original ideas. And if you go into, there's a book by Alec Gannett, one of my friends. He wrote The Creative Curve, and he talks about how like the founder of Netflix used to work in a a, a video rental store, and all he did was consume videos in the back, like movies in the back room, and consume a bunch of movies. So he knew what good movies were. Like John Lennon came from a musical family, so he like learned music from a young age, so he knew what that was. All these great creators are great consumers too. You just don't know about it, and you don't see that part of it. So I think being a great consumer, and great consumers, all what I said is talking to customers, going in communities, um, listening to other marketing content or content out there, and seeing what works.
I love that. Um, I'm just hearing that you just gave full permission for me to binge everything I enjoy about visual storytelling and content. Not, I love that. Like, I mean, that's the Tarantino story too, right? He's a student of like film. He's watched an obnoxious amount of movies, and that's how he's kind of built his craft. And yeah, it's great to hear that again from someone who's doing like you're doing this at a higher level. You're doing this with great traction and success. So it's good to know that the things that aren't like oh there's some obscure hack that you're doing that nobody else. It's these are the basic fundamentals of appreciating the art form, appreciating the industry, consuming it, trying to figure out like where are there gaps, how can we fill them, how can we make something that we're pouring ourselves into and actually truly provides value for those whom it's intended. I love that, and yeah, I so greatly appreciate you sharing that. I know we're about at the end of the time allotted here, so any last thoughts? Anything I didn't ask you that I should have?
No, I would just say that at the simplest form, if you're going to win in content, is just a simple formula, and it obviously goes deeper than this, but it's having extreme consistency with above average content. And I didn't notice, I didn't say like perfect content. It just has to be better than the average. And that's really the formula to win. Is are you going to outlast everybody else in the industry, and are you consistently putting out content that's better than like the average out there? And that's really the formula to win in the content world. um, and most people don't outlast, or they're putting out average content, so like they're ruining one or two, they're one part of the formula, or they're doing none of it, so they're just not even doing the formula. So um, that's just the simplest form of winning.
That's so good, and it's achievable. It's not something
Mm-hmm.
that's out of reach. It's consistency, and like you said, it's doing it better than the average, better than the baseline. Yeah, I think that's a great thing to like take away. If if someone wants practical, immediately applicable nuggets of something they can take and go and put into practice right away, I think that's gold. Man, thanks again. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I've learned a ton. I'm sure other people will get good benefit and value from this as well. Where's the best place to, if someone's looking to find your content, connect with you guys, where can they go?
Yeah, it's a great question. The newsletter, obviously, the Marketing Millennials newsletter, our podcast, the Marketing Millennials on LinkedIn. Wherever you want to consume content, we have a spot for you to do. If you like audio, you can listen to audio. If you like written content, if you want quick, funny content, memes, come to LinkedIn and hang out with us. We have pretty much the type of content you want in different platforms.
I love it. Yeah, that's great. I greatly enjoy the memes. They're a nice supply of humor throughout the day. So again, man, I appreciate it. I've really enjoyed this chat, and I have I've learned a lot. So thanks for taking the time. Enjoyed it, man.
Thank you so much.